All right, everybody, welcome to the second interview of About the Mafia TV. We have a very special guest with us today, Bill Staxx. Bill, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good, man. Thank you for having me on your show.
Of course, of course. So today we're going to talk about various things, background, your gang life, life in the gang, prison life, why it's a hellhole, and we're going to basically talk about the community, how you think you impacted the community, and then we're going to lead off. We're going to end off with a message for the kids out there that are involved or looking to get involved, why they shouldn't. So, Bill, would you like to elaborate on your background, where you're from? If I was friends with Bill in high school, who was Bill? Would you like to elaborate on that, moments leading up to joining the gang?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to get in trouble a lot. I grew up with my mother in the household. It was me, my brother, and my sister, and I was out in the streets a lot. Running around causing trouble. Basically, growing up, the trouble progressed, and I was a quiet kid, but I was into causing trouble, man. I just really liked socializing with people, and I would just go to school basically just to socialize with people and get involved with different people. I started getting involved with the gang when I was around 13, and I really started like getting serious with them when I was around 15, and things progressed pretty quick. And my mother didn't want me around these people. She wanted me to stay away from them, but there was nothing that she could do that would stop me from doing what I was doing, man. I got a rush off of it. It was like and then when you start getting in trouble, it's like all this stuff piles up, and you're thinking it's not really that bad. It's not really that bad. And then when you get to my age now, you're like, damn, all this time wasted when I could have straightened out a long time ago and been where I'm supposed to be now back then. But so the gang that I got involved in with was 20 Love, and they were a black street gang. Well, they started as a prison gang. They were a black prison gang, and they were fighting the oppression of other people taking advantage of these people. So when they started getting out of prison, they started accepting all races into their gang. And we were just a bunch of kids that hung out with each other. And it just, the gang life, like the allure of it, stealing cars and breaking into houses and all kinds of things like that. And then I caught my first case when I was around 14. I got arrested for a stolen car. Wow. And my mother tried to send me up to Vermont or New Hampshire with my grandmother, but that didn't work. My grandmother sent me right back, and she just couldn't deal with it. So I ended up coming back to Bristol. I dropped out of high school. So then I started getting involved with guns, and nothing good comes out of being involved with guns, man. And one of the kids that I grew up with, his grandfather was involved with like the Mafia type organizations. I never really knew about what the Mafia was or any of that stuff. I always was intrigued by it because my father is full Sicilian. And so one of the kids, his grandfather, his last name was Genovese. Mm-hmm. And when we were about 16 years old, he stole his grandfather's gun and he sold me his gun. And he called me back a couple of days later and he's like, I need that gun back. My grandfather's bugging. And I was like, I already got rid of it, man. I already sold it. So then his grandfather started calling me and all these other people started calling me, and I couldn't produce the gun. So they kept trying to ask me to get it for him. But it was already gone. So there was nothing I could do. I just basically let time pass over that situation. So what happened was this kid, the one that sold me the gun, he moved down to South Carolina, somewhere down south like that. And he he started his own branch of the gang that I was in, of 20 Love down there. And he got all these kids to follow him. And then he got involved with something like he got involved with a murder case, something down there. He ended up getting 20 years in prison. He's down there now, still in prison.
Yeah.
And it just shows you where it leads, you know? So my first arrest was a stolen car. My co-defendant was 26 years old and I was only 15 years old. So I was like 14, 15. I got a co-defendant that's 26. Like, so these older people in this gang are like, you know, they're like molding you into what you can be in the future, you know, of what they want you to be. We used to have they used to have houses where we would go and have meetings and all that. And, you know, selling drugs, and it was a lot of stealing cars, a lot of assaults and fighting with people from the other gang. Because the other gang that we used to fight with was called Pump Nation. And I'm from Bristol, Connecticut. And there was a lot of gangs back then. And so when I got arrested for the first stolen car charge, she sent me up to New Hampshire with my grandmother. She sent me back down. And so it was the eve of, so back up a little bit. Before I went to prison, I ended up getting out of the gang, but I didn't get out of it like on my own. I caught a termination because the president at the time, I was 17 years old. I was around 17 when I got terminated out of the gang. So the president at the time thought that I was sleeping with his girlfriend. So they lured me to a park. They called me up and said, yo, we're going to meet these girls at the park. So I get in the car, we drive to the park. I get out, we start walking up this trail, and one of them just turns around and punches me in the face. And I was like, I stood back, and they start coming after me. So I start fighting with them, and they're all coming after me. It was too many of them. I'm on the ground, they're stomping me, kicking me in the face. It seemed like forever. And they all got in the car and left. And I picked myself up and I walked home. And I find out that the girl's going around saying that I slept with her. And it wasn't true. So the girl ends up pulling up to my house. And I was the one that used to carry all the guns back then. And I don't know what came over them to think it was okay to do that to me, especially when I had all the guns in my house. But so the girl comes pulling up and she's like, they want to talk to you. And I'm like, I'm not going over there. Like, I don't trust these dudes. They just beat the crap out of me, man, like real bad. And I had broken ribs. They fractured my eye socket. Like, I was really beat up. And so she said, if you want to go there, bring a gun with you. And if anything happens, you could just shoot them. So that I brought a gun with me and I went to this meeting, and they said that they thought it was messed up what they did to me. So they called a meeting, and they had all the people that were involved with terminating me. They had them bounce each other. So what the bounce is, you put your hands up on the wall, and they count down 20 seconds at a time. They could put on 10 seconds at a time, and they punch you in your ribs if you catch an infraction. So they'll hit you in your ribs for as long as the clock is. And if you put your hands down, the clock starts over again. And it was pretty brutal at times. And these guys, they let me pick who was getting bounced on who. And then after that got done, I just walked away from the gang. And I still had a pending case for a stolen car. So it was the eve going into Thanksgiving. It was in, I believe it was 96. I went to a friend's house with a sawed-off shotgun. And, you know, I just planned on staying over there and just hanging out with my friend and drinking and stuff. So we're there drinking. I'm 17 at the time, I think I was. And he tells me, let's go over to this kid's house. He has a bunch of weed I want to get. So I'm like, yo, if I give you this gun, man, you have to say it's yours. Like, I don't want responsibility for any of this. And he's like, yeah, no problem. You know how it goes. Everyone will take responsibility until it's time to really take responsibility, man. So we end up going over to this house. He knocks on the door. Some lady answers the door. She sees the gun sticking out of his pocket. She starts screaming. She's trying to close the door. Me and him are trying to open the door. So there's like a big struggle. It's like a lot of screaming. So I'm like, man, forget this. So I turn around, I open the door, and the cops are there. They got the guns out. They're like, don't move. And this is like a front hallway to an apartment building. It's projects in Bristol called Sean Drive.
Yeah.
And so I walk out the door, and he's right in back of me. My co-defendant is right in back of me. And there's cops all right there with the cars. So we run from them. We run around the building. And the cops are like right on our heels, man. Like when you're in a dream and it's slow motion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we run to his back door. I run down the stairs, and I have shotgun shells in my pocket. And he throws the gun behind the door, and I start tucking the shotgun shells in the couch. And the cops bust the door open, and I'm like this, and I'm dropping shells. So they charged me with hindering prosecution, possession of a sawed-off shotgun, home invasion, burglary second.
And now
the
I don't mean to interrupt, but the sawed off, that's illegal, correct?
Yeah.
Sawed off?
Yeah. I mean, it's illegal for a 17-year-old to have a gun in the first place.
All right, that's right.
But,
17 time. Yep.
But yeah, nothing was legal about anything I had going on, man.
Yeah.
So they brung me in a room. They started questioning me. Whose gun is it? I'm like, it's not my gun. I don't know whose gun it is. And this for a long time, they're questioning me. And then, but the dude in the other room, he said it was mine. And I mean, it's like your word against theirs. And so I ended up going to court. They gave me a $10,000 bond. Back then, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It seemed like I didn't think I was getting out of jail. So they kept me in there for about 30 days. And then my mother bonded me out. And my co-defendant ended up staying in there. But so altogether, I ended up getting 2 years in prison. And I was young, man. I was scared when I first went in there. The first place I ever went to, I went to Hartford Correctional Youth Block. And then from there, once you get sentenced, they send you over to Little Cheshire. It's the youth facility in Connecticut, and it's a pretty dangerous place. These kids are not like kids, man. They're huge.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what they feed them, man. It's like they're like insanely big in there. And I'm not really sure the age range. I think it's from 14 to 24, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I'm not sure what it is now. It changed since then. DCF took over the place since I've been there. So when I walk in there, I walk into the cell, and I hear all these dudes talking through the doors, and they're like, we're going to kill that white boy in 6th cell. And I'm like, damn, man, my bunky's black.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm the white boy in 6th cell. I'm like, damn, man.
I want to stop you right there. I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
20 Love, you said, was an African-American gang. Did any of that racial dynamic play when you're out of prison? Like when you first joined, did you get, dirty looks and say, who the hell is this? Was there any of that dynamic going on, or do you think you were?
Not at all. Not at all. The black kids that were in the gang, they took me in with open arms, man. All the people that were in this gang, there were a lot of white kids, a lot of Puerto Rican, black. It was a mixed variety. It wasn't like there was a bunch of OG black dudes that were like, who are these white boys in our gang? This was like ours. All of it together was our organization. their colors were green and black. They had bylaws. Like we took it pretty serious, man. We wore beads, and there was, I mean, I had tension with a couple of people in there.
Yeah.
It was probably because I was white. Who knows, you know? I mean,
How many members would you say?
at their top,
Yeah, at the peak.
maybe around 200
Oh, okay.
in Connecticut.
Yeah, I think Connecticut is slept on in terms of gang violence and how dangerous it can be. I feel like Connecticut is overlooked, you know, because you got New York right here, and then you got New Jersey, and then Pennsylvania is big, right? So I think Connecticut slept on in like the danger, especially Hartford and Waterbury, et cetera. I think Connecticut.
Hartford's a really dangerous
Yeah.
place, man. A lot of solid gang members in there. So like if you're from a certain area, say you're from Hartford and you go to prison in New Haven, yeah, the people from Hartford are gonna have a problem with the people in New Haven. They don't like each other.
Really.
Like it's been like that for a long time.
Now,
Long time, yeah.
that's just geographical why they don't like each other. Like, oh, they're from New
It's-
Haven, that's why we don't like them, or is there something an underlying?
It's like the prison. It's like in prison, like they represent, like, say this is New Haven. It's called Elm City. They have a gang called the ECB, the Elm City Boys.
Yeah.
And they what the cops used to do is transfer some of the inmates from New Haven to Hartford and put some from Hartford to New Haven. And people would get killed when they would do that. They would transfer them to a place where they're not liked. Like if people go from New Haven to Hartford, it's a dangerous place for people in New Haven.
You think they
That's
did that on
inside the
purpose?
prison. I'm not sure about the street, but I know the prison is a real dangerous place for people that aren't from that county.
You think they did that on purpose? You think they knew what they were doing when they did that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely did.
It's like the cherry on top for the punishment.
Pretty
Goes
much.
a little bit. Yeah.
I've seen the cops do some pretty messed up things inside prison, man.
Would you like to
I'll
elaborate?
get to that. I'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, no, we're there now. We're talking about
Yeah.
prison life. You're in there. There's tension with the
So one time,
Americans. Go ahead, continue.
yeah, one time this one of the cops came to a guy when I was in prison a little later in life, because I've been arrested a lot of times, man. I've been arrested 26 times. And there comes a point where you're like, enough's enough, and I'm done with it. Like it, and that point came for me almost 3 years ago. And I'm done with crime. I'm done with the streets. That's why I do my show now. I'm trying to help people, man. If I could help, a kid from going to prison or anything like that. So I seen a cop go up to a person and say, yo, your son was just killed in a car accident. And the guy like broke down, had a smashing stuff. He's throwing shit around in the cell. He ends up getting taken out and going to SEG, and it was all a lie. Like his kid didn't even die. Like, why would you do that to someone, man? That's like some of the stuff that they would do.
Mental warfare.
Yeah. Or they would take a white kid and say, oh, he just messed up everyone's commissary, and then push you in the cell, And then you're like, damn.
You saw this with your own eyes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lots of times, man.
That's incredible.
This would happen all the time.
You know what that reminded me of? Michael Franzese, one of the bigger personalities on YouTube. A cop came up to his father, Sonny Franzese, who was very heavy with it, as most people know on YouTube. Cop came up to Michael, young kid. I think he was in his I don't remember how old he said he was. I think
he's playing outside, right?
Yeah, and the cop walks up to him and says, hey, and then he said something along the lines of what? And then he pulls out his gun. He goes like this, Mike, this is for your father one day. Remember, you see that one? Do you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It's just absolutely incredible to me, how two-faced these, officials can be sometimes. So anything else happen in prison? Any stereotypes you want to address that you think aren't necessarily true that people think of? And would you like to elaborate on any stereotypes that agree or disagree with?
I mean, when when I was in prison, I was with a lot of young killers inside Little Chester. It used to be a really dangerous place. One kid killed his whole family. There was a guy that stabbed his friend with a samurai sword. There was all kinds of people, man. I was locked up with a range of people. So the fighting in there is insane. The guards will keep your mail from you. They'll make it so you don't get mail for weeks. And they'll just do little things that will get you jammed up. So when I first went there, they said, we're gonna kill the white boy in 6 cells. So I'm in there sharpening the toothbrush, like, you ain't killing me, man. I'm gonna do whatever I can, that I'm not gonna be the losing end of this fight. So when they opened the door, nothing happened. I'm expecting them to rush me and us to start fighting. Nothing happened. But I'm looking at all these kids, and they're not kids, man. They're huge. And I'm like, damn, man, something's got to give. Like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's not going to end well.
Now, how old were you at this point? How old are you at this
17.
point?
I was 17. Yeah.
Stay, you're
This
17.
this isn't the first time I've been to prison.
Yeah,
The first time was around 14, 15.
Got it.
So, when you get arrested, you go to county jail. I've been to county jail already like twice at this point. So now this is my first time really going to prison. So I'm like, damn, man, I don't know what to expect. So I go up, I grab my tray, and when people eat in there, they have it like, it's not assigned seating. Like, they don't say you sit there, you sit there. It's like when you come in with your tray, you have to sit where there's open spots. So what the cops used to do is they would rip the seats off. They're like in place seats. They're like attached to the table. So they would rip the seats off so there would be nowhere to sit. So then you're sitting there with your tray, like, where do I sit? So I just sat down. I didn't know. So this dude comes up to me. He's like, yo, get up. This is my seat. And I'm like, and people always told me my time going into the other jail, they would be like, yo, don't ever let people punk you, man, no matter what. Don't let people punk you, because once they do it the first time, it'll just keep happening. Yeah. So I'm like, nah, I'm not getting up, and just kept eating. This dude hit me with the tray. We start fighting. Everybody starts fighting. They take me to SEG, and that was like a constant thing. It was in and out of SEG, in and out of SEG. And then, so my first time out of SEG, they say, you're getting moved, man, down to E Cottage. And I'm like, where's that? And people are telling me it's the ghetto, man. It's the worst place to go in this jail. And I'm like, damn, like, they send me to the worst place every time, man. So they send me down there. I get into a couple fights, and my mother's visiting me, right? I go to a visit, I got a black eye, and she's like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I'm just getting into fights all the time. And she's like, I would try to avoid situations because I'm not looking for trouble. If I could have just went through my jail sentence without a problem, I probably would have did that and try to fly under the radar, but it doesn't ever work like that. Yeah. If you're out there and you're going to prison, man, just keep your mouth shut and just stay to yourself, mind your own business. So when I get there, I keep fighting every time I get out of the cell. So they get in contact with my mother, and they say, if we give them a job, do you think that'll change things? So they gave me a job in the laundry room. So it did change things. I started, I didn't mind it there as much as I did before, I spent a lot of time without a TV in that time in prison. So right before I get transferred, I get my TV, and I'm like, damn, man, I got TV, everything's great. So I got one of my bunkies, his name is Sniper, right? He's from the Waterbury. He was a punk, man. Yeah. And so I get my TV, I put it up, and I put it on the channel. I get back on my bunk, and he's goes and changes my channel. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? And so I jump down and I change it back. I'm like, bro, don't touch my TV. And he gets up and he goes to change it again. So I jump down and he runs to the door to look out, and I jump off the toilet. I grab him. I start choking him, man. We're fighting, slamming me against the metal railing in the cell, and I'm choking him. He falls out and he wakes up, and I choke him out again. And this happened. It kept happening, man. It was a long time this was going on for. And then finally the cops seen it. We were fighting. They break it up. They bring us to SAG. And then I'm in it's segregation is like the hole in jail. And so they put us across from each other, and I'm like, bro, I thought me and you were right here. So they affiliated me with 20 Love for doing this. The gang sign for 20 Love is this. So they affiliated me and they brought me to Gardner Correctional Institution. That's a gang block. It's back in the 90s, 96, 97. It was a gang facility, and they had a lot of dangerous people there. One of the people there was Richard Crafts. He's the one that put his wife in the wood chipper.
Oh my, I did not. Yeah. Wow. I'd never heard that.
Bro, by this time I'm 18. I think I was 18. I turned 18 in prison. And so I got to be around all these guys, man. And I told this story before. So I walk in and these guys are all eyeballing me, man. They're huge. They're like, I don't know. I don't know if they were on steroids, but I don't know how they got that big, bro. But something must have been in the water or something. Cause so I'm wheeling my cart, man, and I'm putting all my shit in the cell. And there's this big black dude standing outside my cell like this, all me. And he's like, have a bag for me. And I'm like, nah, I ain't giving you shit. And I'm scared, bro. I'm like, this dude's gonna rip my head off. So he leaves, right? And I finished putting all my stuff, and they call my name. So I go out the cell, I go walking up, and he's locked in there's like a Sally port, and the dude's locked in there. And I'm like, damn, like this is a setup, man. They're doing this on purpose. So we start walking down the hallway. They're calling us to go to a job, like like an interview for a job.
Yeah.
They had an interview for a job there, and so we both get the job. We both get the job in the kitchen. So now we got to work together. I got to work with this guy. So we start walking back, and he asked me where I'm from, and he's from New Britain. And we start talking, man. We become friends. I start going to work with him every day, and we become friends. And months are going by. And so one time we're sitting there, and I got the job at the Sally port where you take the trays from the inmates and knock them off and put them inside the sprayer thing and push it through. So I'm back there, and dudes are like flinging their trays through the Sally port, and they're like flying through, man. They're like hitting people in the back. So we're back there. We start throwing the trays back. And so, and these are, the gang members have to walk single file. They get red jumpsuits. They have to walk single file to the chow hall, and they can't talk or anything. So they thought like, oh, we're going to just throw these in there and like start a ruckus or some shit. I don't know what they thought. So we're flinging the things back and forth. It's a big melee. And you're going to love this one, man. So one time I'm in the block, and I'm walking by these cells, right? I'm going to take a shower. I look over and I see this dude's raping another guy.
Whoosh.
And so I go to work the next day, and I go, Pookie, man. I saw a dude in there having sex with another dude, man. And he's like, shit happens in here, man. And I go, yo, that shit will never happen to me. That shit will happen to my dead body. Yo, all of a sudden, 5 dudes come out of nowhere to grab me, right? I'm in the kitchen. These dudes grab me, yo. And it's like the front little hallway where they have the trays, where you put the food on the trays. they grab me and Pookie comes walking up. He goes, yo, you still think it can't happen to you? And I'm like, yeah, it could happen. It can happen, man. And they all let me go. And then we just went back to work. And I was like, damn, like, it just shows you like anything can happen, man.
It's
Like anything can happen.
that's
So
it's incredible. Was there like one guy in
yeah,
there?
it's great.
Was there one guy in there that stuck out to you? Like maybe give me a quick like your top 3 worst guys that you met in there. Like for whatever reason, like they did this or they're just shitty people, or just give me your top 3 worst guys.
So one of them was Pookie, man. Pookie was a dangerous guy, but I wouldn't say he was one of the worst. So Taupe, this guy named Taupe, he ended up he killed a guy. Someone stole his son's radio or something like that. This is the story I got. Someone stole his son's radio and he went up to him with a handgun and shot him in the face. And I was in there with him. I was in there with Richard Crafts. He's the one that put his wife in the wood chipper, was pretty bad. There was this guy, JDL, I was with he was from Bridgeport. He killed 2 people with a MAC-10 inside a club. I think he's still in there. A lot of these people are still in there, man, from when I was in there. This guy was in there, the one that killed Martha Moxley. What's that guy's name? The one that killed Martha Moxley with the golf club? Skakel, Michael Skakel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the prison I was in. And George Giordano was there. He's a bad guy. He used to hurt little kids, man. He was the Waterbury mayor.
Wow. Yeah.
You were probably a little kid when all that happened.
Probably, yeah. I think I'm a little young to remember that.
Yeah, so one time in there, man, I'm sleeping, right? And I hear screaming. And I run to the door. I look out, and they're dragging this guy out of the cell, and he's dead. He's got a sheet tied around his neck. And I'm like, damn, man. Like when I seen that, I'm like, damn, I'm stuck in here with these people, and that could happen to me. So like, one thing is like, just stay out of people's business, man. You know, stay out of people's way. Don't get involved with no one. So this guy killed his cellie. He said he killed him because he farted when he was eating in the cell, man. He tied a sheet around his neck and he just tied it as tight as he could. And he ended up killing him.
And these are in Connecticut prisons?
Yeah, this was Gardner Correctional Facility back in 97, I believe it was.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. Connecticut definitely slept on. Were you in Danbury?
Yeah, this place is in Gardner. Gardner is in Newtown. It's right next to Danbury.
That's right. Now,
so Danbury's the federal facility.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And the reason why I ask is I kind of want to branch into, obviously, my news site and YouTube kind of cover mostly Italian organized crime in the United States and in Italy. Did you have any run-ins with any made guys or anybody notable, or any experiences, anything you heard about with the Italian mafia? I know you're Italian yourself. 20 Love, not Italian, obviously. Did you have any run-ins or experiences that you'd like to share?
You see, I never wanted to be like, I want to be a mobster. I never really had an interest in that. But I ran across one guy. I really can't say his name on here, but I can tell you the story about me meeting him. He was in there. He was from East Hartford. He was in there for beating someone to death in a bar fight, and I'm pretty sure he was in the Genovese family. He was a pretty good dude. We used to walk around the track every day, and he taught me a pretty valuable lesson, man, on how to talk to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a pretty dangerous guy, man. He was there for 23 years, I believe he did. And
that's heavy.
Yeah, so I've been to a lot of different prisons. I've been to Gardner, Little Cheshire, Big Cheshire, Summers, Hartford Correctional, Willard, Cybulski. I've been to Virgin. There's a lot of different prisons, but I mean, there was only I a handful of Italian guys that I ever like had dealings with in there. It wasn't ever like, oh, them dudes are the mob dudes or anything like that. You could pretty much tell who's who
Mhm.
in there.
Maybe not in Connecticut, but I would definitely say in New York, there's definitely a stronger presence within the prisons of those
Yeah.
organized crime families. Now, what was your last bid that you did, or your last significant time? Kind of just walk me through the time between, the final days of your last sentence to where you are now, the last time you were in prison, and how did that evolution happen?
Yeah, so I was on probation, in and out of prison for probation violation, and then I went to prison for uh fighting with some people, and then I caught my girlfriend cheating when I was in prison. I got out, I threatened the dude, so I went back to prison, and then I'm on probation, in and out, in and out. So the last time it was a probation violation, I think I got 9 months, and I really sat there and worked on myself. It wasn't the last time I got arrested, but it was the last time I went to prison.
Yeah,
And it was about 11 years ago. So it's been 11 years since I've been to prison. And you get to a point where it's just tiring, man. It's not worth it anymore. And for anyone out there that's going through the same thing, man, you can definitely change. There's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. When I stopped drinking is when things started changing for me. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs.
that's
I
excellent. Congratulations.
I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I try to lead by example today.
Nice.
And
There's your right
I'm
there.
interested in this mafia genre, and that's why I picked it, man. I wanted to interview different people that've been through situations similar to mine that have come out on the other side and are doing something positive now.
Yeah. Now you're out a few years, right? Looking back, reflecting back on your life and your experiences, how would you say that your gang or your personal self has affected your community or around you for the good or the worse? How's that reflection for you?
See, I think that the gang that I was in, they were hurting the community. All the gangs that were out here were hurting the community, man. There was nothing good that came out of any of them. But ever since I've changed my life, and I do the right thing now, I volunteer for a organization called Brian's Angels. Um, Her name is Pat Stebbins. She runs Brian's Angels. Her son committed suicide. He had an addiction to heroin, and ever since that happened, she changed her life, and she dedicates her life to helping people who are in similar situations that her son was in. And I go there every once and again, and I volunteer my time because there's people in less fortunate situations than I'm in. Like, I don't have a lot, but what I do have, I'm thankful for, and I'll do anything for the next person that's in need. So that's why I go there and I volunteer my time if I can. I go to church. I try to do the right thing now. So I definitely think I'm helping the community now, given that I was doing nothing before but taking away from it.
It's excellent. I'm glad to hear you turned it around. Now, kind of elaborating on that topic, prison reform is a huge controversial topic in this country. Obviously, you just said you turned your life around dramatically. Did the prison reform you? Did any prison reform help you get to that, or just elaborate on whether or not you think the prison did a sufficient job in reforming you?
I mean, it's really all up to the individual, because you can be in prison and still do good. You can go to prison and do the right thing. You don't have to be involved with everybody in there that are gambling and doing drugs and all this. You can go there and do good. But I mean, I don't think that the prison reformed me, because you're around a lot of criminals. A lot of people in there don't want to do the right thing. It's just like being forced to go say you're being forced to go to AA, or you're being forced to go to drug groups or something, and
Like
you don't want to
narcotics
stop, it's
anonymous.
not going to help. It's not going to help. Some people go to prison and they come out worse than when they went in.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. So I think they definitely need to take a closer look at the prison reform, because they can do a lot better job than what they do.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Wow. Well, now I guess we're just gonna end off with some final thoughts here. What would you say to the first? What would you say to your 13-year-old self, knowing what you
I
know
was-
now?
Man, I really wish I would have listened back then. I would say, what the hell is wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
Just stay in school, man, and try to keep your eyes on the prize. And if you think that you're not worth it, you're definitely worth it. Because I used to believe that I wasn't good enough, man. I thought that I wasn't gonna be nothing when I grew up. I didn't think I was gonna ever amount to anything. And now I see that was all a lie. It was all a lie, man. I definitely have potential to do whatever I want. I'm 40 something now, and I'm on the right track now. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Would you say the same to other kids around that age going into gangs, 20 Love, etc.?
Yeah, there's not a good life. There's not a good outcome when it comes to gangs. You're either gonna end up in jail or you're gonna end up dead. And there's definitely not a good way out, man. And you can definitely walk away from that life. You don't have to be sucked into it. You're not trapped in that life. You can walk away and do the right thing, and people will respect it.
Gotcha.
You know.
Now, ending off on a lighter note, what would you say? What are your top? You log on to YouTube, right? What are your top 5 favorite YouTube channels to watch, and why?
Chatting with Staxx is number one.
Number 1.
Man, about the Mafia.
Oh, it's good.
Gotta have you up there.
Good answer.
And I like Jimmy Calandria's channel, man. I listen to a lot of his stories.
He's fairly new.
Yeah.
Did you
just came
see his beef with he was beefing with John Alite and Larry Mazza? I tried to kind of follow that a little bit.
Beefing with everybody, man.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know, man. I don't get involved with the YouTube drama.
Yeah, it's not what it's about, right?
Yeah. I was involved with with my little drama, but that's over with now.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you had a drama.
Yeah, I did, man, with my old co-host.
What was that about?
Nah, I don't even want to talk about it, man.
Yeah.
He's not even worth my breath, bro.
No worries, no worries.
But so Calandria, who else is out there, man? I don't know. I really 23-1, my boy Josh, and there's AZ Ruction. Go check him out. He has a good channel.
I do. All right, Bill. Well, I think that's, unless you have any more final thoughts, I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah, just go check out Chatting with Staxx. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop, man. And that's it. All I got, bro.
Make sure to follow Bill, guys. Seriously, he puts out phenomenal content. Really puts it into perspective. What the life was like. He's a true gentleman who really deserves the subscription and the likes and everything that he has coming to him in his further life. Now, Bill.
Thank you, man.
Of course. Thank you for coming on the show. I know this is kind of last minute. We had some difficulties with the time today. That's my fault. But I appreciate you bearing with me and hopping on the show. And hopefully I talk to you soon.
Definitely, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Peace.